The gale off the jagged peak sliced through homespun like a blade through burlap. Mid-February 1892, and the ice had held for 47 straight days. Eliza Hargrove waited by the stockyard fence, her young ones huddled against her mended hem. Jonah, 8 years old, scanned the throng with eyes too knowing for a child. Sadie Rose, 5, gripped her mother's fingers, knuckles pale from chill and dread. The stench struck first. Dung, sodden straw, coal smoke from the auctioneer's brazier. Then the clamor. Steers bawling. Heels pounding frozen clay. Men muttering odds on the pens. Gideon Blackwood loomed on the block, mallet poised mid-arc. Eliza shoved past the barrier. Mr. Blackwood. Her cry cracked across the yard. She raised a framed title. Glass splintered at one edge. A narrow silver band snared the WAN light. My little ones haven't had a full meal in 4 days. Will you take these in place of my herd? The mallet hung. Quiet fell like a rock in a shaft. Silas Drummond's silver pocket watch flashed at the distant post. He glanced at the hour, mouth set hard. Wind screamed through the homestead's daubing, a shrill keen that never ceased. Eliza ladled pea soup into tin mugs. The metal so frigid it seared her skin. 3 scoops. That was the last in the kettle. Jonah dropped from the attic barefoot despite the rime. Sadie Rose perched at the board, her breath clouding. The rap landed heavy. 3 blows. Eliza unbarred the door. Silas Drummond filled the opening, greatcoat fastened to his chin, brim tugged low. He stepped in without welcome. His boots dragged muck across the scrubbed planks. Eliza. He doffed his hat but stayed upright. The silver watch chain across his waistcoat caught the lantern glow. She remained on her feet. Silas. He drew a creased paper from inside his coat, set it beside Sadie Rose's mug. 90-day eviction warning. Board's ruling. Strictly business. Her hands froze on the dipper. Nathan paid every harvest. Paid slow. The terms are plain. 3 months overdue triggers forfeit. He opened the sheet. Tapped a line with a gloved nail. Acreage, stock, implements. Total lien $1,600. You have until May 15th to clear the sum or quit the claim. Jonah's small fists clenched on the loft rungs. Eliza felt his stare bore into her spine. I'll sell the herd, the band, anything needful. Silas's lips thinned. Herd won't bring half in deep winter. Trinkets less. His eyes slid to the framed title over the hearth. You could spare yourself grief. Deed it over tonight. I'll hand you $250. Enough to plant roots somewhere milder. $250, her tone went dull. For 160 acres with water rights, it's fair. The hearth crackled. Sadie Rose's spoon scraped the bare tin. Eliza leaned in, voice low. That ground carries Nathan's mark on it. Mine as well. You don't wipe us out with ink and name it kindness. Silas reset his hat. His watch surfaced from his pocket. He flipped it open, snapped it shut. The click echoed in the cramped room. First melt brings the marshal. County seat. 90 days. Eliza. No extensions. He turned for the door. Halted. Young ones shouldn't see their mother stripped of all. Ponder that. The latch shut. Wind devoured his tread. Jonah descended the rest of the way. Mama, will Uncle Silas take our cabin? She knelt, drew him in, his ribs stark beneath his nightshirt. Not if I draw breath. Sadie Rose mewed. Eliza gathered her girl onto her knee, folding both children inside her shawl. Outside, a coyote yipped. The firs replied with a noise like snapping sinew. The fire sank, embers pulsing red as open cuts. Eliza stood before the mantel, fingertips on the title's glass. The frame was plain ash, but Nathan had etched their initials in the corner. EH plus NJH. The parchment read Nathan Josiah Hargrove in Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, owners, 160 acres, Section 9, Township 5 North, Wyoming Territory, recorded March 3, 1890. Her birth name inked beside his. She recalled him rehearsing the flourish by candle, tongue caught between teeth, bent on perfection. He'd inked it 4 times before he nodded. Protection, he'd said, so no man can claim you don't belong here. She followed the curves of his script. The glass was ice under her touch. Jonah materialized at her side. Why does the paper keep your first name? Because your father meant the world to know this soil is mine, too, not only his. But Uncle Silas says plenty. She held her voice level. Truth is, when you hold land, you set down your name. Both names, so no mistake. Sadie Rose shifted in her dreams, tucked beneath a blanket by the fire. Her mouth shaped silent words. Eliza thought of the soup, how watery it had been, how the children's faces had sunken through the freeze. She looked again at the title, the signature staring back, Nathan's hand firm even in ink. He'd made that curl distinct, she saw now. The tail of the H in Hargrove curled upward, almost proud. No one else wrote it like that. Her throat closed. Mama. Jonah's voice was faint. Are we losing the place? She drew him in, kissed his crown. He smelled of pine smoke and frost. Your father signed this true. He knew his business. She breathed to the frame, to the shade of her husband's steady hand. You signed it true. I'll prove it. Wind hammered the shutters. Somewhere in the black, a hawk screeched. The lantern guttered. The title's glass threw back her face, drawn and hollow. But the signature, Nathan's signature, held steady. The bank reeked of saddle soap and old pipe tobacco. Eliza's boots left clay on the Turkish carpet, dark smears that made the teller flinch. She offered no sorry. Silas sat behind an oak desk, pen hovering above a column of figures. He didn't stand when she came in. The teller, a boy with ink-black nails, lingered by the iron safe, gaze lowered. Mrs. Hargrove, Silas's tone was level. I take it you thought better. She set the wedding band on the blotter. The silver caught the gaslight, thin and scarred. I need an advance against this, enough to buy breathing room. Silas pinched the band between thumb and finger, angled it to the window. Outside, snow drifted in slow coils. He peered at the ring, turned it once, twice. $9, maybe $12 at sale. It's worth $45. To whom? He let it fall. The ring spun, teetered, rang flat. The sound bounced off the paneled walls. No one's buying keepsakes in a blizzard, Eliza. The territory's thick with widows peddling bands. Her teeth locked. She pushed the words through. Then stretched the eviction. 6 more months. I'll move stock in spring when prices rise. Silas opened a drawer, drew out another sheet, slid it across the varnish. Still, I can give you a clean out. $250 for the claim, cash this morning. She stared at the page. Her sight blurred. That ground's worth $1,700. Not with liens. Not with missed payments. His knuckles drummed the desk. You're drowning, Eliza. The best mercy I can offer is a door. Mercy. The word tasted of cinders. Silas leaned back, fingers laced. His watch slid from his waistcoat pocket, the case etched with letters she couldn't make out from her side. He checked the hour. Let the lid snap shut. The click was crisp. Final. Or refuse. Drag it till open bid. Let the whole county see you stripped bare before your young ones." He paused. "Pride costs. Pay it now or pay it later. Your call." The teller shuffled by the safe. A register slipped, thudded to the floorboards. No one stooped for it. Eliza scooped the band, closed her fist around it. The metal cut her skin. "I'll see you at the sale, Silas." She wheeled for the door. "Eliza." His voice trailed her. "When it's done, don't claim I never told you." The door banged. Outside, the wind bit through her wrap like fangs. The land office stank of mold and lamp oil. Folders towered to the rafters, some bound with twine, others spilling sheets across the planks. A lone clerk, grey, spectacles low on a wind-burned nose, glanced up from his ledger. "Need something, Eliza stepped to the counter. "I want the Hargrove title." Section 9, Township 5 North, filed March 1890. The clerk grunted, stood, shuffled to a steel cabinet along the back wall. His keys clinked. He rifled drawers, muttering. "Hargrove. Hargrove. Ah, here." He spread the parchment on the counter. Eliza bent close. Her breath snagged. 2 signatures. Nathan Josiah Hargrove. The familiar loops. The proud curl of the H. And below it, Silas Drummond, co-proprietor. "No." Her voice cracked. "That's wrong. Nathan never signed with Silas. It was only us, him and me." The clerk nudged his glasses higher, squinted at the sheet. "Says here, witnessed by a Mr. Elias Carver, recorded March 3rd, 1890. 2 owners named." He tapped the line. "Lawful and binding. Where's the first copy? The one we set our hands to." "Mr. Drummond fetched it last week. Bank rule during Lynn Review, for safekeeping." The clerk's voice was dry as dust. "This is the file duplicate. Carries the same force." Eliza's hands trembled. She clutched the counter's rim. Her birth name, Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, was missing. Only Nathan's name and Silas's. The curl on the H was wrong. Too stiff. Too neat. He faked it, she breathed. The clerk scowled. That's a grave charge. If you suspect fraud, you'll have to lay proof before Judge Harlan when he rides circuit. Late April, maybe May, roads willing." "When in May?" "Can't pin it. Melt's a gamble." He folded the parchment, eased it toward the drawer. "But if you're crying forgery, you'll need the original. And witnesses. Words alone won't unseat a recorded title." Her legs buckled. She gripped harder. May, the deadline. Silas held the original. He held every scrap. The clerk's voice floated far off. "You steady?" She spun, lurched for the door. The tin bell above jingled as she shoved out. Icy air slapped her cheeks. Behind her the clerk called, "You left your," but she was already gone. The street lay long and bare. Snow thickened, swallowing her tracks the instant they formed. Silas's watch ticked in her mind. 90 days, no more. She had no title, no evidence, no time. The wind screamed. Eliza drew her wrap close and stepped into the white. The sale yard reeked of soaked straw and dung. Frozen rut split beneath Eliza's boots as she neared the corral. Her fustiers crowded the far corner, ribs stark through ragged winter hide, eyes flat. Gideon Blackwood leaned on the rail, one huge paw draped over the top plank. He didn't glance up when she halted beside him. "These ain't fit," he said, voice low, rough as quarry stone. "They need green pasture. Another month, 2 at most." I don't have a month. He rose, 6'5", shoulders wide as a wagon gate. His face was leathered, a pale scar tracking his jaw from some long-ago hurt. Silver threaded his temples. He studied her with eyes that had seen every kind of ruin. Drummond's driving this. It wasn't a question. She nodded. Gideon took off his hat, raked fingers through his hair. My Clara, God keep her, lost acreage to a bank mix-up 6 years gone. Drummond was the clerk then, too. His jaw flexed. Papers vanished overnight. Suddenly we owed twice the loan. By the time we untangled it, the ground was sold. He reset his hat, brim low. She took fever that winter, lung sickness. But I always reckoned it was the grief that killed her. Eliza's throat sealed. A stock hand passed with a sloshing pail, tipped his cap to Gideon, moved on. The splash faded. I'll stall your sale, Gideon said. Tag these steers too lean for market. That's gospel. Buys you a few weeks. He'll know you're aiding me. Let him know. Gideon's eyes went flint. Mrs. Hargrove, why's Drummond rushing a winter sale? Nobody buys dirt in a blizzard unless there's profit in it. She looked toward the far ridges, white caps against iron sky. Railroad spur cutting through my quarter. He pressed Nathan to sell last spring. Nathan stood firm. Gideon spat into the mire. Thought so. Drummond always sniffed out coin that wasn't his. He turned square to her. You've got to prove that title's false. Find the true copy or find someone who saw the real signing. Drummond took the true copy and the witness. She paused. Elias Carver, but he's been in the ground for years. His widow still keeps the dry goods. Hope flickered, thin as candle flame. You think she'd recall? Elias logged everything, drove Martha half crazy with his ledgers. Gideon lifted a lariat from the post, began coiling it slow. If he set his mark on your title, he'd have scratched it down. Martha will know. Eliza's heart kicked. I'll speak to her. Do it quick. Judge Harlan won't stall for proof that never shows. Gideon hooked the lariat on a peg. And Mrs. Hargrove, steer clear of Drummond's bank from now on. Not by yourself. A man like that turns mean when he's boxed in. She dipped her chin. As she turned, Gideon's voice followed. One last thing. When it comes to trial, it'll be open. Sale yard, most likely. Judge likes an audience. He held her gaze. Whole count'll be staring. You set for that? Eliza pictured her children's gaunt faces, the bare soup kettle, Silas's watch ticking in her head. I've got no choice. Gideon's face eased, just a hair. Then we'll see you're ready. The dry goods bell jingled as Eliza pushed inside. He rolled over her. A pot-belly stove snapped in the corner, the air carried sage and roasted chicory. Martha Carver glanced up from her tally book, iron gray not neat as ever. Eliza! Martha's tone softened. She laid her quill aside. You're half ice. Sit. But Eliza stood fast. Jonah and Sadie Rose clung to her hem, eyes round. They'd said nothing the whole trudge to town. Mrs. Carver, I need to move this. She set the band on the counter. Martha raised it under the kerosene lamp. Light slid across the worn silver. Pretty piece. Elias gave me one near the same. Her voice dipped. I can set it in the window. Might fetch honest money. How much? Martha paused, rolling the ring slow. Times are tight. Maybe $14. 22 if luck holds. Eliza's shoulders fell. Martha eyed the children. Their noses pressed to the jar of lemon drops, breath-fogging glass. She rose, drew out 2 sticks, placed them in small fists. My treat. Sadie Rose's eyes went saucer wide. Jonah breathed, thank you. Martha slid the band back to Eliza. Hold it a day. Let me put word out. She studied Eliza's face. What's truly eating you? The story poured. Drummond served eviction. Claims Nathan signed the title with him as partner. But that's a lie. Just Nathan and me, our names side by side. Her voice splintered. He forged it. I know it, but I can't prove it. Martha's look sharpened. Something sparked behind her eyes. Your man's title. Elias witnessed it, didn't he? Eliza blinked. I don't know. Nathan kept the papers. Martha drummed the counter, thinking. Elias countersigned scores of deeds, logged every stroke, swore you couldn't trust a snake like Silas Drummond with pen and ink. Her lips went thin. I ought to sift Elias's trunks. Ledgers, duplicates of every contract he ever touched. Hope flared, thin and bright. Can you spare a few days? Trunks are out back. Haven't cracked them since he went. Martha's gaze held steady. If Elias saw your signing, there's a record. I'll turn it up. Eliza's throat closed. Thank you. Martha reached over, pressed her hand. Elias always said truth rises like snowmelt in a drawer. She let go. We just got to dig. Outside, the wind climbed. Snow spun past the panes. But inside, for the first time in weeks, warmth reached Eliza's ribs. She wasn't alone. Spring sun cracked the clouds at last, yet the meeting house steps stayed cold. Women bunched in knots, wraps drawn tight despite the thaw. Their talk buzzed, polite but edged. Eliza climbed toward them, Jonah and Sadie Rose's hands in hers. The children's Sunday best showed patches at the elbows, hems dropped to the limit of the cloth. The circle closed as she neared. Mrs. Barlow spoke first, voice pitched to Carrie. Eliza, such a shame about the claim. Another woman, Mrs. Greer, the wheelwright's wife, tweaked her bonnet, the pheasant feather bobbed. Word is Drummond offered you a fair sum, generous, all things considered. Her gaze slid to the children. You turned it down? Eliza's jaw locked. The offer was robbery. Silence hit like a dropped anvil, eyes flicked, hem swished. Mrs. Barlow leaned toward Mrs. Greer, whisper pitched for all. Squatting on borrowed dirt. Disgraceful, hauling those young ones through it when she could have pocketed the cash and started clean. Jonah's fists balled. Eliza felt his small frame go rigid. A boy shot between the skirts. The Greer lad, 9 and sour as vinegar. He slammed into Sadie Rose. She staggered, caught the rail, palms rasping splinters. Your ma's a cheat, the boy spat. Pa says so. Jonah lunged. Eliza snagged his collar, hauled him back. Not here. Sadie Rose's lip quivered. She pressed to her mother's skirt, wordless. Mrs. Greer tugged her son close, as if he were the injured party. Children pick up talk. The chapel door swung. Martha Carver stepped out, basket on her arm. Her eye swept the tableau, the tight knot, Eliza on the outside, the children's gaunt faces. Martha moved to the far edge of the steps. She set the basket down, poured coffee from a flask into a tin mug. Alone. Mrs. Barlow sniffed. We all live with what we choose, Eliza. A woman in your fix, maybe marrying again would beat scrapping the inevitable. The knot unraveled, skirts brushing past. One by one they flowed around Eliza like creek water round a rock. She stood rooted, children welded to her sides. When the last bonnet vanished, Martha crossed the steps. She pressed the warm mug into Eliza's hands. Drink. Eliza's fingers shook. The coffee carried chicory and sorghum. They're scared, Martha said low. Their men owe Drummond cash. Fear turns folks mean. Jonah's voice came tiny. Mama, can we go home? Eliza drained the mug, handed it back. Yes. They started down the steps together, the children, Martha. The lane stretched muddy and long. Behind them the bell tolled, summoning the pious. But Eliza kept walking. Eliza shoved through the bank door after closing. The teller, Mr. Lyle, was crating files, ledgers, a framed charter, a small mantel clock. His hands flew, face white. Silas stood by the vault, arms folded. Mrs. Hargrove, this is out of order. You're shifting the sale. Her voice shook. Gideon said you forced it. Silas sighed like she was a nagging child. Your stock's unfit. Mr. Blackwood spoke true, but the land sale proceeds. May 15th. He paused. Unless you'd like it sooner. I can set April 10th, less time to flail. Why? She stepped nearer. What's my 160 acres worth to you? His smile was thin ice. You truly don't know. He moved to his desk, unfolded a plat map. Red ink slashed through Section 9, her claim. The line ran north, forking toward the capital. Railway spur, Silas said. Approved last autumn. Hush for now, but by summer every acre on this trace triples, quadruples maybe. He tapped the map. Your ground sits dead center. Gold. Her breath snagged. You knew before Nathan died. I urged him to sell. He wouldn't. Silas refolded the map. Sentimental fool swore the dirt was for his young ones, that it meant more than coin. His tone dripped scorn. Meaning doesn't settle debts. Mr. Lyle cleared his throat. He set the crate on the counter. Mr. Drummond, I quit. Now. Silas's head snapped round. Mr. Lyle, that's hasty. The books are off. Lyle's voice held steady though his hand shook. He laid a key ring beside the crate. You've been shifting funds, papering holes with money that isn't yours. He looked at Eliza. He needs your land sale to plug the gap before the territorial examiners come. That's why he's driving so hard. The room tilted. Eliza clutched the desk edge. You're stealing. Silas's smile vanished. Creative accounting. Temporary shift of capital. The rail line needed cash flow. All above board. It's theft. Lyle hefted the crate. I won't cover for you when the examiners ride in. He stepped to the door, paused. Mrs. Hargrove, higher counsel. A sharp one. The latch shut. The bolt shot home. Eliza and Silas alone. The vault's brass caught the gaslight. Outside, the sun sank, red bleeding into violet. Silas's hand slipped to his waistcoat. The watch slid out. He flipped it open, the click rang like a hammer. You still have a choice, Eliza. Drop it. Take the 250. Vanish. His eyes were flat steel. Or push. When the audit hits, when they tear open every ledger, when they drag your children through court for months, he leaned in, you'll lose the claim anyway, and they'll suffer for it. Is that what Nathan would have wanted? Her fists knotted. Don't you dare say his name. Silas snapped the watch shut. May 15th. Unless you sign now. He slid a fresh deed across the blotter. Choose. She stared at the blank lines, at his ice-cold stare, at the map with its red slash carving her life in two. I'll see you in court. She wheeled for the door. Silas's voice followed, soft and sharp. Force the audit and you might sink me, but you'll drown first. Your ground, your children's future, everything Nathan bled for. He paused. Some wars aren't worth the victory. The door slammed. The street lay empty. Mud sucked her boots. The sky bled black. Silas's watch ticked in her head, counting down. She had nothing, no title, no proof, no allies but a widowed storekeeper and an auctioneer already in too deep. The wind knifed through her wrap. For the first time, Eliza wondered if Silas was right. Maybe some fights were lost the day they began. Dawn bled crimson over the furs. Eliza stood at the stove, stirring thin gruel. Jonah dropped from the loft, boots in hand. "Mama, I want to help." She turned. His face too grave for 8. "You are helping. You haul water. You mind your sister. I mean really help with Uncle Silas." Her chest seized. "Jonah." "I heard him. About the railroad. About taking our house." His voice cracked. "Pa wouldn't let him. Pa fought every day he drew breath. Now it's my turn." "But you're just—" He stopped. "Just what?" "Just you. He's got the bank, the papers, everybody's scared of him." She pulled him close, his small frame shook. "You're right. He's got all that. But he doesn't have the truth." She let go, crossed to the mantel, lifted the framed title into the morning light. Nathan's signature stared back, that proud curl on the H. Something caught her eye. A smudge low in the corner. She angled the frame. Not a smudge, a fingerprint, small, fresh. "Jonah, did you touch this?" He nodded. "Last night after you slept. I wanted to see what Pa wrote." "Did you touch anything else?" "Just the frame." He hesitated. "And the papers in the barn loft. Thought maybe Pa left something to help." Her pulse jumped. "What papers?" "Trunk under the old saddle blanket." She snatched her shawl. "Show me." They crossed the yard. The barn smelled of straw and cured hide. Jonah climbed the ladder, Eliza followed. He shoved aside the blanket, uncovered a scarred trunk. Inside, old tack, a crack bit, moth-chewed wool, and beneath it all, a folder bound with twine. Eliza opened it. Her breath snagged. Practice sheets, dozens. Nathan's hand again and again. Nathan Josiah Hargrove. N.J. Hargrove. N.J.H. And on the final page, Nathan Josiah Hargrove and Eliza Whitmore Hargrove. The curl on every H was the same, proud, unmistakable. She lifted the page to the shaft of light knifing through the loft boards. Ink had browned, but the line held. "Your father knew," she breathed. "He practiced until it was perfect, until no one could copy it." She turned to Jonah. His eyes went round. "That's PA's real hand, not the fake." "Yes." She folded the sheets, slipped them inside her bodice. "This shows how he always signed." And Silas's version, she recalled the land office deed, the H is too tame, too neat. "It doesn't match." Jonah scrambled down the ladder, Eliza followed. At the barn door she paused, looked back at the empty loft. "Thank you," she whispered to the rafters, to the ghost of Nathan's careful hand. Outside, the air carried wet earth. A lone crocus poked purple through the mud by the fence. Spring was coming, and with it a reckoning. Martha's back room smelled of lilac and yellowed paper. The trunk yawned open, its guts strewn across the rug, ledgers, daybooks, receipts 15 years deep. Eliza knelt beside Martha, hands rifling pages. "You sure he'd have kept a copy?" "Elias copied everything," Martha said. "Drove me half wild, but he swore, who owns the record owns the truth." She lifted a cracked leather journal, brushed off blue dust. 1890, March. Pages rustled. Her finger stopped. Here. March 3rd, 1890. Witness deed signing. Hargrove claim, Section 9. Present, Nathan Hargrove, Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, Elias Carver. She looked up. Note, Silas Drummond arrived late. Tried to witness, signing already done. Appeared put out. Eliza's pulse hammered. Martha read on. Hargrove refused SD's request to add him as co-owner. Stated land for wife and children only. SD left unsigned. She closed the book. Elias didn't trust him. Kept this because he figured Silas would try something later. This proves Silas wasn't on the original deed. Strong proof, Martha said, but the judge will want the original beside it. Eliza's hope wavered. Silas has it. Took it from the land office. Martha's eyes hardened. Then we make him show it in open court. She pressed the journal into Eliza's hands. Guard this. When Judge Harlan rides in, you lay every word before him. Outside, the first warm rain of spring drummed the window, rinsing the last snow into the gutters. Eliza clutched the journal to her chest. Thank you. Elias would have wanted it, Martha said, smile sad and fierce. Truth rises like creek water in spring. You just wait for the thaw. The square smelled of yeast and horse. Wagons lined the ruts, farmers hawked pale carrots and cellar-wrinkled spuds. Sun climbed hot for the first time in months. Eliza wove between stalls, Jonah and Sadie rose at her heels, counting coins for flour. Silas's voice cut across the crowd. Folks, a moment. He stood on the courthouse steps, hat in hand. 30 heads turned, blacksmith, miller, farmers in mud-caked boots. I know there's talk, he began, smooth as axle grease. About the Hargrove foreclosure. About my part in it. He let the hush hang. I'll speak plain, because this town deserves honesty. Gideon stepped from the feed store doorway, halted beside Eliza, jaw like granite. Silas went on. Nathan Hargrove was my brother-in-law. I loved him like kin. After he passed, I bent over backward for his widow, extended credit, postponed payments, offered a fair settlement to spare her the public disgrace of losing it all. His face folded into sorrow. She refused. And now, well, I'm worried. Mrs. Greer leaned to Mrs. Barlow, whispering. Boots shuffled. Worried, a voice called. Silas nodded solemnly. Eliza Hargrove is a woman in grief. Grief clouds the mind, makes folks see plots where there's only bad luck. He drew a handkerchief, dabbed his brow. She's accused me of forgery, of theft, grave claims. Yet when asked for proof, she has none. Only suspicion. Eliza's fists knotted. And the children, Silas added, voice thick with fake pity. Those poor little ones in that shack, half-fed, dragged through their mother's unraveling. It pains me. He looked straight across the square at Eliza. A woman in such a state, maybe the young ones would fare better with family who can provide. Murmurs swelled. Jonah pressed to her side. Sadie Rose whimpered. Gideon's voice cracked the air. That's enough, Drummond. Silas's eyes flicked to him. Mr. Blackwood, I know you stalled Mrs. Hargrove's stock sale out of kindness. But stretching out the pain only hurts her, and those children, longer. The steers were gaunt. You know it. You've inserted yourself in bank business. Silas's tone iced over. Eliza stepped forward, children clinging. Her voice rang clear. You're lying. The square froze. You forged my husband's deed, slipped your name in where it never was, and now you're stealing my land to hide your thieving from the auditors. Gasps rippled. Silas's mask flickered, shock, fury, then practiced grief. There, exactly what I mean. Wild tales born of sorrow and want. He faced the crowd. I have legal papers. She has bedtime stories. I have proof, Eliza said. Nathan's signature practice sheets. A witness journal. Evidence you weren't at the original signing. Silas gave a soft, pitying laugh. Practice sheets. Written any day, by anyone. He shook his head. Judge Harlan will see the truth. And when he does, those children will go where they'll be cared for properly. Something in Eliza broke loose. She climbed the steps, stopped 3 feet from him. You'll take my land over my cold corpse, but you will not lay a finger on my children. For an instant the mask slipped, raw hate flashed. His hand brushed the watch pocket. Habit, tell. We'll see, he said low. May 15th. The judge decides. He descended, shouldered past her. The crowd parted. Mrs. Barlow turned away. Others followed. But some lingered. The blacksmith met Eliza's eyes, gave a short nod. A farmer she barely knew touched his hat brim. Gideon mounted the steps, stood at her shoulder. You held the line. Didn't let him box you. He threatened my babies. I know. And now every soul here knows it too. Gideon's voice dropped. Some will side with him, fear's strong. But others just watched a banker menace a widow's kids. That don't settle easy with working men. Martha appeared at the foot of the steps, basket on her arm. Eliza, come to the store. You and the young ones. They trailed her across the square. Behind them, voices rose in argument as the crowd thinned. Martha locked the dry goods door, turned the sign to closed. She led them to the back room where Elias's trunk still gaped. I found more. Martha's hands trembled as she lifted a small, cracked leather diary. Elias's private thoughts, not the store ledger. She opened to a ribbon mark. May 1890, 2 months after your deed. Eliza leaned in, Gideon read over her shoulder. Martha's finger slid down the ink. Silas Drummond came today. Demanded I alter my witness statement. Said I misremembered the Hargrove signing, that he was present and should be co-owner. Martha's voice steadied. I refused. Told him my record stands. He threatened to pull his custom. I told him to go ahead. She turned the page. SD is dangerous. Not with fists, but with paper. He's forging. I'm sure. I've copied every deed I witnessed. Hid them in the store safe. If I'm gone, Martha will find them. Gideon straightened. Store safe, not the trunk. Martha crossed to the corner, slid a shelf aside. A squat iron safe sat flush in the wall. She spun the dial. Click, click, click. The door yawned. Inside, a neat stack of papers bound with faded ribbon. She drew them out, fingers shaking as she loosened the knot, fanned the sheets. Hargrove, Section 9, March 3, 1890. She lifted the document into the lamplight. Eliza's breath stopped. 2 signatures, Nathan Josiah Hargrove and Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, proprietors. The curl on Nathan's H leapt proud and perfect, her maiden name stood clear. At the bottom, witnessed by Elias Carver, March 3, 1890. No Silas. No co-proprietor clause. This is it, Eliza whispered. The original. Martha's eyes shone. Elias knew Silas would try. He kept a copy, insurance. She pressed the deed into Eliza's hands. This is what Judge Harlan must see. Gideon took the paper, held it to the window. Ink age true. Signature matches your practice sheets. Elias's mark is notarized by the territorial clerk. He looked at Eliza. It will stand. Eliza sank into a chair, clutching the deed like a heartbeat. We have proof. More than proof, Martha said. We have Elias's voice from the grave, one Silas can't bully or buy. Her tone hardened. He'll have to explain why his version exists at all. Gideon folded his arms. He'll cry clerical error, lost file, confusion. Then we lay the practice sheets beside it, Eliza said. Show Nathan's hand is unique, Silas's forgery is clumsy. And Elias's diary, Martha added. Proof he tried to coerce a witness. Premeditation. The three of them looked at each other. The room smelled of dust, old paper, and sudden hope. Outside, warm rain began to fall, drumming the tin roof like a promise. Gideon spoke first. Keep it locked tight. If Silas learns we have the original, he'll come for it. Martha nodded. Safe stays shut. Only we know. And we say nothing, Eliza said. Let him think we're empty-handed. Let him swagger. Then we strike in open court, Gideon finished, before judge and county. Martha retied the ribbon, slid the deed into the safe, spun the dial, shoved the shelf home. May 15th, she said. Judge Harlan rides in the 13th, holds court the 15th. She met Eliza's eyes. 3 weeks. Can you last 3 more? Eliza pictured Silas's threat, the children's thin wrists, Nathan's signature practiced until no forger could mimic it. Yes, she said. We can last. The sun bled gold through the furs. Eliza stirred soup at the stove, real soup now, with onions Martha had tucked into her sack at the store. The scent of simmering roots filled the cabin, warm, almost hopeful. Jonah sat at the table, silent, too silent. Sadie Rose played with her corn-shuck doll by the hearth, humming off-key. But Jonah stared at his hands, fingers knotted tight. Jonah! Eliza set down the spoon. What is it? He didn't look up. Nothing. Don't lie. His jaw worked. He was Nathan's boy, stubborn, loyal, hopeless at hiding guilt. At last he dug into his pocket and drew out something that caught the lamplight. Silas's silver pocket watch. Eliza's breath snagged. Where did you get that? I took it. His voice was small. At the square when he was speechifying. His coat hung on the rail. I just reached in. She knelt. Why? Tears welled. Because he's mean. He's stealing our home, lying, trying to take you away. I wanted to hurt him. Make him lose something too. She took the watch. Heavy, cold, the case etched with SD. On the back, First Territorial Bank, Excellence in Service, 1889. A gift from the bank, before Silas began bleeding it dry. Mama, I'm sorry. I know stealing's wrong, but you thought it was justice. He nodded, miserable. She sat back on her heels. Outside, a nighthawk called, wind stirred the pines. She pictured Silas's threats, his forged deed, the way he'd stood in the square branding her unhinged. Every fiber in her wanted to hurl the watch into the stove, watch it melt, let Silas hunt forever. But that wasn't who she was, and it wasn't who she wanted Jonah to become. Listen. She cupped his face. What Silas is doing is evil. But if we turn into him, if we steal to fight back, we lose more than land. We lose ourselves. It ain't fair. No. Her voice stayed firm. Life seldom is. We don't choose what others do, only what we do. I won't let Silas make us like him. Jonah's tears spilled. So we just let him win? No. We beat him clean, with truth, with proof, with Martha and Gideon at our side. She thumbed away his tears. When we win, and we will, Silas will know he lost to people who wouldn't bend. What if we don't win? She pulled him close, his small frame shook against her. Then we still did right. You'll grow up knowing your mother didn't teach you to fight dirty. Some things matter more than winning. He sobbed into her shoulder. Sadie Rose left her doll, climbed onto Eliza's lap. She held them both, the watch heavy in her palm. Tomorrow, she said quietly. We give it back. Jonah pulled away. To him? And you'll say sorry? Yes. You took what wasn't yours. No matter who he is or what he's done, that's wrong. We make it right. The fire popped. Outside, darkness folded over the claim. The watch ticked, steady, relentless. She thought of the hearing, 3 weeks off. The watch could be leverage, proof of embezzlement, the bank's engraving a paper trail, or a bargaining chip. But it was also a test of who they were. Tomorrow, she repeated. We do this right. Judge Harlan's makeshift office smelled of cherry pipe smoke and cracked leather. He'd come a day early, unusual, and taken a room above the land office. Eliza climbed the narrow stairs, Jonah beside her, Silas's watch wrapped in a clean rag. The judge looked up from his papers. 68, iron grey beard, eyes sharp as flint. Mrs. Hargrove, he said, Mr. Drummond hinted you might call. Did he? Her voice was flat. Harlan gestured to the chairs. Sit. Both of you. Jonah perched on the edge. Eliza unwrapped the watch, set it on the blotter. Harlan's brows lifted. That's Silas Drummond's. Yes, sir. My son took it 3 days ago. We're returning it. The judge studied Jonah. You stole this? Jonah's whisper barely carried. Yes, sir. Why? Because I was mad. Mr. Drummond's trying to take our home, and I wanted him to hurt too. Tears tracked his cheeks. But Mama says that's wrong, no matter what he done. So I'm sorry. Harlan leaned back, the chair groaned. He lifted the watch, turned it, read the engravings. His face gave nothing away. Drummond filed a report, he said slowly. Watch missing, implied theft during the square dust-up. Didn't name you, but the arrow pointed. I only learned 2 days ago, Eliza said. Soon as I knew, we came. You could have kept quiet. Let him sweat. Used it as a club. He glanced at the foreclosure notice on his desk. Hearings May 15th. I know. We're returning it anyway. Harlan steepled his fingers. Why? Eliza looked at Jonah, then back. Because my boy needs to learn we don't turn into what we fight. And because the truth is enough. If it isn't, a stolen watch won't save us. Silence pooled. Below, the land clerk's voice droned through files. A wagon clattered past outside. Harlan nodded once. I'll hand this to Drummond with a note, your son confessed, apologized. He paused. Takes backbone, Mrs. Hargrove. More than most. Will it hurt us at the hearing? No. If anything, his eyes softened, it tells me you're not the unhinged widow he's painted. You're someone who chooses honor over leverage. He drew a ledger close, scratched a line. Hearing proceeds. May 15th, 10 o'clock, Stockyard. I like open air for land fights. Keeps folks honest. Drummond claims I forged papers, that I've got nothing. You got something? Yes, sir. Bring it. All of it. I'll weigh both sides and call it straight. He shut the ledger. 24 years on circuit. I've seen every trick. Truth usually shows when you lay the story side by side in daylight. He tapped the watch. Good first move. Jonah's voice shook. Sir, will you let Uncle Silas take us from Mama? Harlan's face went grave. Son, that's not his call. It's mine. And I don't separate young ones from their mother without ironclad cause. He met Eliza's eyes. Bring your proof. We'll sort who's lying. Eliza stood. Thank you, Your Honor. Jonah rose, hand finding hers. At the door Harlan called, Mrs. Hargrove, one more thing. She turned. Stockyard holds 200 when it's packed. Word's out. There'll be a crowd. His gaze was steady. Ready for every eye in the county on you. She thought of the square, the church steps, the women's circle shutting her out. She thought of Martha's safe, the deed inside, Nathan's signature no forger could match. Yes, sir. I'm ready. Good. Once we start, we don't stop till every card's on the table, no matter how ugly. I understand. They descended. Outside, April sun cracked the clouds. The street smelled of mud and green shoots. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks the county would watch her fight for everything that mattered. And this time, she was ready. The stockyard smelled of fresh shavings and wet earth. By 9, 200 souls packed the rails, farmers on planks, women shoulder to shoulder, young ones perched on posts. Sun climbed hot, chasing the last spring mist. Eliza sat at a rough table facing the block. Jonah and Sadie Rose pressed tight to her sides. Behind her, Martha and Gideon stood like posts. Silas sat across the aisle, alone. Suit pressed, hair slicked, eyes hard. Judge Harlan mounted the platform, boots thudded. He set a worn valise on the auctioneer's stand. Gideon's polished mallet lay beside it. This court is in session, Harlan called. First Territorial Bank versus Estate of Nathan Hargrove. Question, who owns Section 9, Township 5 North? Murmurs rippled. Harlan raised a hand, quiet snap back. Mr. Drummond, your case. Silas rose, placed a paper on the stand. Simple, Your Honor. Nathan Hargrove borrowed $1,600 in 1889. Payments lapsed. Upon death, debt fell to the estate. Bank holds the note and a deed showing joint ownership, Nathan Hargrove and myself as co-signer. He tapped the sheet. Registered. Binding. Harlan set it aside. Mrs. Hargrove. Eliza stood. Legs unsteady, voice steady. That deed is forged. Nathan and I signed the original together, both our names, my maiden name, deliberate. For our children. Silas smiled, sad. Grief clouds memory, Your Honor. No proof of any original. Only accusations. I have proof. The crowd leaned in. Eliza drew the practice sheets from her satchel, unfolded them on the stand. Nathan rehearsed his signature until it was perfect. Look at the curl on the H. She pointed. Every one identical. Harlan bent close, tracing the loops. Now compare Mr. Drummond's version. She laid the bank's deed beside them. The H is flatter, cautious. Not Nathan's hand. Silas stepped forward. Those sheets could be anyone's, any day. There's more. Martha moved to the stand, set down the cracked leather journal. My late husband, Elias Carver, notary public, witnessed the true signing, March 3rd, 1890. She opened to the marked page. Present, Nathan Hargrove, Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, Elias Carver. Note, Silas Drummond arrived late, tried to witness, signing complete. Appeared agitated. Gasps rolled. Harlan struck the mallet once. Order. Silas's face had gone the color of ash. Hearsay. Private scribbles. My husband was a sworn notary, Martha said, voice like iron. His records were official, Martha said, and he kept copies of every deed he witnessed for exactly this reason. Harlan straightened. Do you have such a copy, Mrs. Carver? I do, Your Honor. She reached into her satchel, slow, deliberate. The crowd held its breath. Martha drew out the original deed, unfolded it, laid it beside Silas's version. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. Harlan lifted both documents, held them to the sun. His eyes flicked line by line, word by word. A meadowlark called from the fence. Far off, the chapel bell tolled 10. At last Harlan spoke. These are not the same document. Silas shot to his feet. Your Honor, that deed is inadmissible. Mrs. Hargrove has had months to fabricate. Sit down, Mr. Drummond. Silas froze. Harlan's voice had gone to steel. This document bears Elias Carver's official notary seal, dated March 3, 1890. It lists two proprietors, Nathan Josiah Hargrove and Eliza Whitmore Hargrove. He looked at Silas. Your version lists you as co-proprietor. It omits Mrs. Hargrove's maiden name entirely. And the signature, he laid the practice sheets beside it, does not match. Silas's jaw worked. Clerical error, misfiling at the land office. I can explain. Then explain. Harlan's gaze was merciless. Explain why Elias Carver's journal notes you arrived late and tried to insert yourself into a completed signing. Explain why your deed erases Mrs. Hargrove's name. Explain why the handwriting fails to match Nathan Hargrove's documented signature. The crowd leaned in. Silas's hand drifted to his waistcoat. Fingers searched the empty pocket. Color drained from his face. Looking for this? Harlan held up the silver watch. Returned to me 3 days ago by Mrs. Hargrove. Her son took it. She brought him here to confess and apologize. He set the watch on the stand. Even with leverage, she chose honesty. Silas's mouth opened, shut. No sound came. Harlan leaned forward. Mr. Drummond, direct question, under oath. He nodded to Gideon. Hand on the ledger. Swear. Silas's hand trembled as it settled on the leather. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is true, so help you God? I do. Did you forge Nathan Hargrove's signature on the deed filed with the Territorial Land Office? Silence stretched. A baby whimpered. A horse stamped. The watch on the stand sat still, hands frozen at 2:47. Silas stared at the dead timepiece. His face went grey. Mr. Drummond. His voice cracked. There were extenuating circumstances. The rail spur was coming. Nathan refused to sell. He was irrational. I knew the land would triple in value. I thought. He stopped. You thought you'd steal it. I thought I'd preserve it for the family, for his children. Desperation bled through. And yes, I needed the sale to cover temporary shortfalls. Investments that would have paid off if given time. But Nathan's stubbornness risked everything. So you forged his name, added yourself as co-proprietor, filed a false deed. Silas's shoulders sagged. Yes. The word dropped like a stone into deep water. The crowd erupted, shouts, vindicated, furious. The blacksmith rose, fists clenched. Mrs. Greer covered her mouth. Mrs. Barlow turned away, cheeks burning. Harlan struck the mallet 3 times, crack, 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 like rifle shots. Order. I will have order. Silence crept back, reluctant. Harlan gathered both deeds, the journal, the practice sheets. He stacked them with care. The evidence is clear. The deed filed by Silas Drummond is fraudulent. The original deed, witnessed by Elias Carver and bearing the signatures of both Nathan and Eliza Hargrove, is the legal document of record. He looked at Eliza. Mrs. Hargrove, the foreclosure petition is dismissed. The land remains yours, free and clear. Her breath rushed out. Jonah seized her hand. Sadie Rose buried her face in her skirt. Martha's grip tightened on her shoulder. Gideon's deep voice rumbled, "Justice." Harlan wasn't finished. He turned to Silas. "Mr. Drummond, you have confessed under oath to forgery, fraud, and embezzlement of bank funds. I remand you to territorial custody pending full audit of First Territorial Bank." Sheriff Tate. A badge glinted in the crowd. Tate stepped forward, irons ready. Silas didn't fight. His eyes were hollow. As the shackles clicked, he looked at Eliza. "I was trying to help. Nathan was family. I wanted." "You wanted his land," Eliza said quietly, "and you were willing to ruin his children to take it." Silas had no reply. Tate led him off. The crowd parted like wheat before wind. Whispers followed, final, damning. Harlan raised Gideon's mallet high. "By authority of Wyoming Territory, I declare the Hargrove claim, Section 9, Township 5 North, 160 acres, sole and rightful property of Eliza Whitmore Hargrove." He struck once, twice, 3 times. Crack, crack, crack. "Sold," he said, "to the rightful owner." Cheers exploded. The blacksmith whooped. Farmers stomped. Even Mrs. Greer clapped, eyes averted. Eliza stood rooted. Jonah flung arms around her waist. Sadie Rose climbed into her lap. Martha enfolded them all, tears shining. Gideon took the mallet from Harlan, held it aloft, not in triumph, but in salute. Justice done. Truth upheld. Sunlight spilled across the yard, across 200 witnesses, across children laughing through tears. Eliza looked at the true deed on the stand, Nathan's proud H, her maiden name, both together as intended. "We did it," Jonah whispered. She kissed his hair. "Yes, baby. We won." But as her gaze fell on Silas's dead watch, hands frozen at 2:47 the instant his oath crumbled, she thought, no. The truth won. And that's better. Asterisk. The territorial auditor's boots rang on the boardwalk. Mr. Lyle, reinstated as clerk, unlocked the vault, hand steady for the first time in months. Eliza stood by the door with Martha. They weren't required, but they came to see it through. The auditor, thin, wire-spectacled, ink to the elbows, looked up from a ledger on Silas's desk. "Mrs. Hargrove, you should know. Embezzlement totals $4,800 over 20 months. Shuffled between accounts to mask the holes." Eliza's breath caught. Most went to railway bribes, early word on the spur. Plan to buy the corridor cheap, sell high once public. He cleaned his glasses. Your claim was the hinge. Without it, the scheme folded. Martha squeezed Eliza's hand. Governor's warrant issued, the auditor continued. Silas Drummond faces trial in Cheyenne. Forgery, fraud, embezzlement. 10 years minimum, likely 15. Lyle spoke from the vault. The bank. Territorial seizure. Assets sold to repay depositors. You'll manage interim, Mr. Lyle, until new charter. Eliza looked at the empty chair behind the desk, the watch still frozen on the blotter. Outside, spring wind carried the scent of turned earth and distant rain. The land was hers. The truth was hers. And for the first time in a long, cold year, the future felt wide open. The auditor snapped the ledger shut. Mrs. Hargrove, one last item. The spur is real. It'll cut through your section. Now that the route's public, the railway will pay fair value for the right-of-way, about $900. $900. More cash than Eliza had ever held. The land stays, she said. But I'll sell the easement. My children need a future. The auditor dipped his chin. Agent will call. Proper papers, witnesses. I expect Judge Harlan will sign off himself. Outside, April sun baked the street. Mud had dried to dust. Lilacs burst purple in Martha's window boxes. Coffee? Martha asked. My treat. Eliza smiled. Your treat. Arms linked, they walked to the store. Behind them, through the bank's glass, Lyle began the slow work of earning trust again. The town would mend, stitch by stitch. The garden smelled of turned loam and promise. Eliza knelt in the row, Jonah beside her, pressing bean seeds into cool earth. Sadie Rose trailed with a watering can, careful not to spill. The cabin stood square behind them, roof reshingled, door rehung, windows scrubbed bright. Gideon's doing. Every Sunday for a month his wagon rolled in with lumber and nails, quiet words and steady hands mending what winter and cruelty had cracked. Today he was back, nailing fresh boards to the porch rail. The blows rang clean, rhythmic, true. Martha's wagon crested the ridge. She climbed down with a basket, bread still warm, wrapped in gingham. She set it on the rail, then joined Eliza in the dirt. Brought something else. From her apron she drew a new pine frame, sanded satin smooth. The old one was cracked. Eliza took it, thumb tracing the grain. Beautiful. Gideon carved it. I just carried. Martha's eyes twinkled. Across the yard, Gideon's hammer paused, his ears went red. Eliza carried the frame inside. The true deed lay on the table, unframed, waiting. She fitted it into the new pine. Glass clear, no fracture. Beneath Nathan's proud H she had inked her own name in fresh black, **** Eliza Whitmore Hargrove, owner. ***, not widow. Owner. Martha helped hang it above the mantel. Sunlight struck the glass, two names gleamed equal. Nathan would be proud, Martha said softly. I hope he knows we kept it. That his children will grow here, same as he dreamed. Outside, Jonah whooped. He'd found a robin's nest in the barn rafters, 3 blue eggs perfect and whole. Martha touched Eliza's shoulder. He's good with them. I know. And he's here every Sunday. Time's one thing you have plenty of now, Martha said. But don't waste it all. Advice or observation? Both. Martha called goodbye to the children, climbed into her wagon, wheels creaking toward town. Gideon tested the rail, nodded, gathered his tools. Back next Sunday. Barn doors sagging. You don't have to. I know. His eyes met hers, steady. I'd like to, if that's all right. Eliza thought of Nathan, of the life they built here, and of the wide, uncertain tomorrow now hers to shape. It's all right, she said. We like that. Gideon tipped his hat, wagon rumbling off. Jonah ran up, dirt on his cheeks. Mama, can we stay here forever? She pulled him close, Sadie Rose joined, arms around them both. They stood on the new porch, strong rail at their backs, green rose stretching ahead. Forever in a day, Eliza said, and meant it. By May the frost had vanished, and the land had forgiven it. Eliza Hargrove knelt in soil that smelled of rain and beginning, hands black with earth, her children's laughter rising like birdsong. The homestead stood solid, not perfect, but whole. Windows clear, door true, roof sound. Gideon's wagon came every Sunday now, steady as sunrise. He'd fix a fence, teach Jonah to swing a hammer, speak little. The work said enough. Martha brought warm bread, stayed for coffee, told stories about Elias that made the children howl. The store thrived, folks trusted her more than ever, keeper of truths, guardian of records that mattered. Above the mantel the deed hung in its new frame. 2 names, clear as creek water, *** Nathan Josiah Hargrove and Eliza Whitmore Hargrove. ***. She had added hers because she could. Because the land was hers, earned by truth, held by courage, kept by refusing to become the thing she fought. Silas's watch sat in a Cheyenne evidence box, hands frozen at 2:47. Some swore you could still hear it tick if you pressed an ear to the dark. But Eliza no longer listened for ghosts. She listened for robins, for Jonah's questions about seed depth, for Sadie Rose humming as she watered, for Gideon's hammer and Martha's step on the porch. Spring had taught the old lesson: land doesn't care who holds the paper. It cares who turns the soil, who plants in hope, who stays when staying is hardest. Ink can lie. Deeds can be stolen. But dirt tells the truth. And those who sink their hands deep and plant for tomorrow, they own it in a way no court can grant or take. Love is the only deed that lasts. Eliza stood, brushed soil from her skirt, looked to the horizon, not for trouble now, but for rain, for green shoots, for the future rising like crocuses through dark earth. Behind her Jonah called, he'd found another nest, for eggs this time. She turned toward her children's voices, toward the cabin with its straight door and clear windows, toward the sound of Gideon's wagon cresting the ridge, right on time. Spring. New growth. Second chances. The land had forgiven the frost. And so had she.